Welcome to the Three Martini Lunch. Grab a stool next to Greg Corombos of Radio America and Jim Garrity of National Review. Three Martinis coming up.
Very glad you're with us for the Thursday edition of the Three Martini Lunch. Jim Garrity on vacation. In his place today, Jon Gabriel, the Undisputed King of Stuff, columnist for the Arizona Republic and Discourse Magazine through the Mercatus Center. And he is also the author of the fantastic World War II submarine novel, Sink the Rising Sun, and he is hard at work on the sequel. So for those trying to figure out what comes next with Benjamin Holt, it's on its way. It's being worked on, Jon. So thank you for being with us today.
Yeah, Benjamin Holt and the Philosopher's Stone. There's your there's your teaser. The Prisoner of Bazan. I don't remember what it was. I was a very frazzled, tired father when I was looking up those books. And we got to make it quick because one of Trump's census takers is waiting at the door for me.
Yes, exactly right. So that's going to be one of our stories today. James Carville, big mad, but he's going to save democracy by doing a lot of undemocratic things, or at least he wants the Democrats to do that when and if they're ever back in power. We'll tell you about the complete collapse of any shred of objectivity at the Associated Press. It was actually gone a while ago, but this time their reaction to what's going on in the Middle East is truly breathtaking. But in just a moment, we're going to talk about President Trump's call for a new census, not including those who are here illegally. But first, we're going to talk about Dose, our great brand new sponsor, and it's going to make sure that your liver is healthy. Did you know the liver is the second largest organ in the body? It's responsible for more than 500 functions, but for some reason, liver health doesn't always get quite the attention it deserves. But Dose for Your Liver was formulated to cleanse your liver of unwanted elements, aid digestion, and maintain your body's filter. The science-backed formula promotes liver function, aids digestion, eases bloating, and even boosts energy levels. It'll also reduce brain fog and give you some better sleep. And it also tastes good. Support your health with Dose Daily. Save 25% on your first month when you subscribe at dosedaily.co/3ml or enter the code 3ml at checkout. Please note the 25% discount applies only to subscription orders, not one-time purchases. You can cancel anytime with no hassle. That's dosedaily.co/3ml to get 25% off your first monthly subscription with the code 3ml. All right, Jon, on to the first martini now. And President Trump is not happy with the way things are currently laid out in terms of congressional districts and other things as a result of the 2020 census. Now, we should point out that his administration the first time was in charge of conducting the 2020 census. So there's certainly some blame to go around there. A lot of people think that when you look at the revised numbers, the Democrats actually benefited from the census, and they've got a couple extra seats in Congress. But to Trump's credit, he actually tried to have a question on the 2020 census, asking people if they were in the country illegally and whether they were a citizen. But for some reason, the court said you can't ask that question, which I'm not really sure why, other than a quote-unquote district judge just deciding to shoot down President Trump. It seems like a pretty fair question to me. But Trump is basically out there saying that he's going to order a new and highly accurate census, saying it will be based on the information gained from the presidential election. He says people who are in our country illegally will not be counted in the census. He wrote that on Truth Social. Now, Jon, a lot of people have pointed out on social media and beyond that the census specifically says in the Constitution, you got to take it every 10 years, and you do have to count everyone. But it doesn't say you have to count everyone when you're actually drawing congressional maps and figuring out how many House seats each state gets. So what's your reaction to what Trump's trying to do here?
Yeah, I see what he's doing here. It seems like a huge, vast distraction and expense. So I'm hoping it's one of those deals where he's trying to talk very loudly, and hopefully people understand, especially on the Democratic side, that they need to fear the stick coming out. Once again, you would need to hire workers all over the place. This is like a huge production. This isn't just, sending out a couple folks and having people answer. It's a really big deal. I actually think it would be better and it would be less of an issue with illegal immigrants and potentially counting those folks if you waited 5 years, because I think there will be fewer then than there are now. And what we're talking about now is redistricting for states, which usually occurs every 10 years or so. The Democrats are, banging their spoon on their high chair, very upset about this horrible practice they've just heard about called gerrymandering. And, it's just ludicrous. Both parties do it. If anyone does it more aggressively, it is the Democrats. They love doing this. They love creating these crazy districts that are just like bizarre snakes or salamanders or Elbridge Gary Mander, who's the first guy who did this 200 years ago. So this has been a constant theme of Democrats. I have it in my state, how they chop everything up. So, okay, we're going to make sure we can eke out a Democratic win here or a Republican win there. I'm hoping he doesn't go through with this. Hopefully he'll just kind of scare off Democrats from all this bizarre freak out that they're having over Texas trying to redraw district lines.
Now, I think that the smart thing to do, since he'll be president until 2029, is to get the next census absolutely ready to go. And if he's succeeded by another Republican, then it would seem that that would be a pretty smooth transition. A Democrat could obviously come in 2029 and radically change how the census is conducted in relation to this particular question. So, yeah, I mean, this is in response to the Democrats who are in response to what's happening in Texas, and they're acting like this has never, ever happened before, even though this happens more frequently than it used to. It used to be every 10 years, right after whatever the election was that ended in 0, then the state legislature decides how it's going to draw the map. The governor either approves or disapproves, or they fight over it. Now you've got courts jumping in. I remember Pennsylvania at the start of this decade, or maybe it was last decade even, jumping in and saying, oh, no, we're a bunch of liberals on the court. This map is not favorable enough to Democrats, so we're going to create a few more Democratic seats here. So the idea that anybody's as pure as the driven snow on this particular question is ridiculous. And while Jim is away, today Noah Rothman's filling in for him on the Morning Jolt, and he's got a great line in there and focus about how the Democrats claim that they've just got to get tougher because only they play by the rules, and only Republicans are ruthless when it comes to this stuff. And, they have a sliding definition of what playing by the rules is, as we'll hear a little bit later with Mr. Carville. But what do you make of this argument that the Democrats are as pure as the driven snow, and they only get tough when the Republicans are so flagrantly violating the law?
Oh, gosh, it's just ludicrous. If you look at the whole Biden regency that he set up where, I don't know, they'd cart him out every once in a while to a podium to kind of stare at cameras and blink. Probably blinking torture in Morse code or something like that. And, all they do is defy norms. They endorse riots. They endorse terrorism. They, celebrate people like that Luigi dude who killed a healthcare CEO. These are not serious people, and they are not ethical people, to say the least. So I think they're just shocked that a Republican has some spine and is pushing back a little bit.
Yes. How dare you do what we've been doing? That's terrible. Can't let you be doing that. So, yeah, we'll find out. Certainly get Trump's instinct to want to clean this up. There are some people who think the Democrats would lose a lot more seats if you did reapportion without using the illegals than they're about to lose in Texas. But we'll find out if they're allowed to conduct the census this way and what the numbers then actually look like. But look, if you're a Democrat and you're having a hard time dealing with Republicans playing hardball in Texas and other places, maybe you just need some help. And this is an ad for BetterHelp. And these days, it feels like there's advice for everything, from cold plunges to gratitude journals and giving up your screens for a while. But how do you know what actually works for you? And with the internet and information overload about mental health and wellness, it can be a struggle to know what's true and what actions to take these days. But using trusted resources and talking to live therapists can get you personalized recommendations, and it can help you break through the noise. And that's where BetterHelp comes in. With more than 30,000 therapists, BetterHelp is the world's largest online therapy platform, having served more than 5 million people around the world. It has an average rating of 4.9 out of 5, and that's based on more than 1.7 million client reviews. It's also convenient. You can join sessions with a therapist at the click of a button, and you can switch therapists at any time. As the largest online therapy provider in the world, BetterHelp can provide access to mental health professionals with a diverse variety of expertise. Talk it out with BetterHelp. Our listeners get 10% off their first month at BetterHelp.com/3ML. That's BetterHelp.com/3ML. All right, John, the Associated Press has certainly leaned left for quite a while. They've been leaning increasingly left over time, and now they've apparently lost virtually the entire plot. They've got this big story out there now about just all of the terrible injuries suffered by those poor people whose pagers exploded on them when the Israelis detonated those pagers that were in the possession of Hezbollah terrorists. And so in some cases, of course, the person closest to the pager wasn't actually the terrorist, but of course, you're a terrorist, so it's your fault that the pager's there. But then there's a story of Madi Sherry. This is how AP puts this. Madi Sherry, a 23-year-old Hezbollah fighter, had been ordered back to the front line on the day of the attack. Before leaving, he charged his pager and spent time with his family. For his security, no mobile phones were allowed in the house while he was there. There were many drones in the sky that day. His pager usually vibrated. This time, it beeped. He approached to check for Hezbollah warnings or directives and saw the message, error. Then, press OK, and he followed the prompt. He felt a sharp pain in his head and eyes. His bed was covered in blood. Thinking he had been hit by a drone, he stumbled outside and passed out. He was first treated in Syria, then in Iraq, as hospitals in Lebanon struggled to handle the high number of patients. Shrapnel was removed from his left eye socket, and he had a prosthetic eye installed. For a while, he could see shadows with his remaining eye. With time, that dimmed. He can no longer play football, meaning soccer, I guess. Hezbollah is helping him find a new job. Shari realizes it's impossible now to find a role along Hezbollah fighters. He asked his fiancée if she wanted to move on. She refused. They married during a video call while he was in Iraq a month after his injury. So you're alive. Your woman stays with you. That's a pretty good combination right there. But unfortunately, John, he can't continue to do what he loves most, which is kill Jews. And somehow this is a big problem for the Associated Press.
His lifetime dream was dance, and now that is taken away from him. It's just the most ludicrous story. For AP to be doing this is just crazy, because any sane person just reads it and thinks it's hilarious and wonderful. Good. The bad guy got it. You know, he might not be dead, but at least he's kind of put on the shelf, put out of action for a while. And to lament that he can't play football anymore. Are you kidding me? Yeah, as you said, this guy's specialty was murdering Jews. Why does he want to murder them? Because they're Jews. End of story. Whatever happens to these people, the better. As the good book says, he who lives by the IED dies by the IED, something like that. I'm not sure which translation that is. But, dude, you got what you deserve. This is what happens when you go into terror as a brilliant career that you can get into. And I'm very glad Hezbollah's career counselors are there on the phone with him to help place him. I don't know, maybe he can be a florist or something. I'm not sure. The guy's lucky he's alive. And again, for the AP, there's just no depths that they won't sink to just bring out these crazy stories. You used to see stories like this, maybe one or two a year in a place like The Guardian in the UK. You know, one of these just crazy lefty things. And now it's so mainstream. It could be any news agency at all. And AP proves that.
Yeah, and it leads to a bigger question, because the media in this country always attacks cultural Christians for, you know, their treatment of women, supposedly, or their opposition to gay marriage, or pointing out that the Bible condemns homosexuality or something like that. So they're always attacking conservatives for that. But the Islamists will do the exact same thing, only they'll kill the gay people. They'll make the women hide their entire appearance. And there's never hardly any criticism of that sort of thing. And so my theory here, John, is that they hate the West. And so the West is us. It's Judeo-Christian heritage. It's obviously Israel. And so they'll worry about the Islamists later. They'll worry about the Marxists later, maybe, if they actually think there's a problem with any of that. But they got to get rid of the West. And so that means we're the bad guys. Israel's the bad guys. And all the bad stuff these people do, well, we're just going to look the other way for now.
Yeah, I completely agree. And this is why you have this bizarre things where you have Trans for Gaza or something like that. They're united in hating the West. That's the only thing that unites them. And for some reason, they just have this, you know, cultural guilt where they think, oh, we got to tear it all down. We're such terrible people. And, I probably first noticed it in when the Twin Towers were attacked, and you heard a lot of people on the left talking about root causes. You need to look at root causes, and it's just because we meddled in the Middle East and because of the Crusades and because of imperialism. And they love root causes until it goes back to one of their allies, basically. They'll only go back as far as they can go until the West can be blamed. So we will be blamed for, I don't know, a hurricane in Burma or something like that. And, oh, well, obviously it's because the West is evil. That's always their answer for everything. And I think most people, not even just conservatives, have kind of had enough of that. Guys, you got to move on. Enough of this hate in the West thing. If you hate the West, check out everywhere else and see how you like their free press.
Well, I'm sure that we're burning fossil fuels, so that's why the hurricane in Burma, the hypothetical hurricane, would be our fault. It always is. But AP, I guess they're really, really miffed over the Gulf of America thing and getting kicked out of certain spaces. So now they're just going, full tilt lefty, even more than before. So
exactly,
not sure that's the best strategy for you long term. But you do you, Associated Press, I guess. Guys, reading stories like that is going to stress you out, wonder whether there is a future in journalism. Might make you worry about that. Maybe a couple lines in the skin show up, and that's where Caldera Lab can help you out, men. It's made specifically for men, and their high-performance skincare is simple, effective, and backed by science. In fact, in a consumer study, 100% of men said their skin looked smoother and healthier. 97% noticed improved hydration and texture, and nearly 94% reported a more youthful appearance. Caldera Lab spends years developing and testing each formula with leading cosmetic chemists to make sure it actually works. I've said many times I use the cleanser. I really like it. It's you can tell that it's working. Leaves my skin feeling clean and fresh, and it doesn't have any overpowering weird smells, because normal guys, I'm pretty sure, don't like that. So upgrade your skincare with Caldera Lab. Easy, effective, and made for men. Skip the drugstore and try it for yourself. Visit calderalab.com/3ml and use the code 3ml for 20% off your first order. Again, that's calderalab.com/3ml with the code 3ml for 20% off. All right, John, on to our crazy martini now. And the Democrats are still flailing from the 2024 elections. It has now been more than 9 months, and they still don't really have a leader. They still don't really have a message. They still don't really have a direction that they're headed. All that they know is that they hate Trump, and they're going to try to ride that to successes in this year's elections in Virginia, New Jersey, and New York City, and maybe even next year in the midterms. But in terms of the long-term deal, the threat to democracy is a very, very serious problem. And James Carville, yes, James Carville is still around. He was on a podcast with Al Hunt, who's also still around, in case you didn't know. Remember him from the Capitol Gang? And the only reason to watch that was for Bob Novak to rip them all stem from stern. But anyway, Carville has a goal for Democrats. If they're able to win the White House, the House, and the Senate in the next major presidential election, 2028, he's got the marching orders ready. And wait till you hear what it is and why.
If the Democrats win the presidency, the Senate, and the House in 2028, which is not impossible. I don't know if you say likely or possible. I don't know what word but it's certainly not impossible. They are just going to have to unilaterally add Puerto Rico and the District of Columbia states. They're going to have to, the Congress does give, the Constitution gives Congress power over federal elections. I don't think they can redistrict, but they're things they're going to do. They're going to have to do it. They're just going to have to do it. And they may have to expand the court to 13 members. Any of those things in isolation, I would be skeptical about. I would be cautious about. I would say, well, I don't know if that's the greatest idea in the world. You're opening Pandora's box, or all kinds of things. If you want to save democracy, I think you got to do all of those things.
Yes, we have to save democracy by basically beating democracy to death with a blunt object. And I love how the Supreme Court's got to have 13, which is just conveniently one more than the 6 Republican appointees on the bench. So, John, what do you make of basically the Democratic Party's ideology here that democracy is only safe and working if we're in charge?
Okay, first I have to note Carville, the older he gets, the more he sounds like Boomhauer from King of the Hill. It's just like, you're playing that, and I'm like, hey, what is he saying? Oh, those dang old megalomark. It's just like, okay, dude, enunciate a little bit for us poor people trying to listen to you. Yeah, it's insane. Everything is to save democracy except obedience to democracy. Guess who won in our democratic elections? Donald J. Trump. What are you trying to do? You're trying to impose him with courts. You're having riots in the streets. You're burning cars. You're attacking ICE agents. None of that is democracy. What is democracy is Donald Trump beat you across the board, a full spectrum defeat. Maybe step back a second and find out, oh, maybe we've been focusing on the wrong things. Maybe people don't like completely unchecked migration. Maybe people don't like to see their statues toppled. Maybe people don't love all this stuff, and we should trim our sails, adjust a bit, and get back to winning 51% of the voters. Instead, it's just always these, we need to render, hey, Haiti is a state all of a sudden. We just decided this, and we've installed bleachers in the Supreme Court to fit all the justices. And just all these crazy ideas, just adjust what you're running on a little bit. You don't even need much. It's not like Trump completely destroyed the Democratic Party, won by what, 2.5%, something like that. Adjust your message. That's all you need to do, but they will not do it because they are holy and righteous, and everything that they are for is on the side of the angels. And anything, if the majority of voters don't like what a Democrat is saying, they'll blame, hey, well, obviously we need to fix democracy. No, you need to obey democracy. Why don't you sit back, take notes for a while, talk to human beings who aren't in, green rooms or academic lounges, and just adjust your message a little bit. I know they'll never take this advice, but that's my meager advice.
It's clearly the best advice, but yes, there's never a problem with the candidate. There's never a problem with the increasingly leftward policies. It's only the messaging. Yeah. And, of course, aggressive Republican tactics. And, of course, if you run out of everything else, racism and sexism, especially when you've got someone like Kamala Harris on the ticket. So it's not the fact that you're embracing socialism bordering on communism in New York City. It's not that, like you said, unfettered migration. It's not guys and girls sports. No. It's these dastardly Republicans. Well, the Democrats aren't good for much, but they're definitely good for fodder for the crazy martini. So, Jon, always great to have you with us, and we'll talk to you tomorrow.
All right. Sounds great. Thanks for having me.
You bet. Jon Gabriel is the undisputed king of stuff. He's also a columnist with the Arizona Republic and Discourse Magazine for the Mercatus Center. And he is the author of Sink the Rising Sun, a fantastic submarine novel from World War II. And again, the sequel is in the works. I'm Greg Corombos of Radio America. Thanks for being with us today. Please subscribe to the podcast if you don't already. Also, thank you for your 5-star ratings and your kind reviews. Please keep those coming. Get us on your home devices. All you have to say is play 3 Martini Lunch podcast. Follow all of us on X. Jon is at XJon, EXJON. Jim is at Jim Garrity. I'm at Greg Corombos. Have a great Thursday and join us again on Friday for the next 3 Martini Lunch.